I thought taking an $800 breakup gig would score me a nice meal. Who knew a few bottles of deadly Wusu beer would make me crash the wrong room, ruining the multi-billion-dollar signing ceremony of the icy female CEO, Liu Ruyan. Just when I thought I'd be fed to the fish and was packing my bags to flee overnight, a plot twist happened. Instead of chopping me to pieces, she showed up at my door with dozens of men in black. Wait, isn't that bright red marriage certificate in her hand a bit out of place? My hangover felt like a heavy metal concert blasting inside my skull, with the front man wielding a drill. I forced my crusty eyes open and reached for my phone on the nightstand. The moment I unlocked it, a flood of unread messages and missed calls nearly crashed my piece of trash phone. Rubbing my throbbing temples, I opened Weibo with trembling hands. The top trending topic was marked in dark red. Shocking. Mysterious madman crashes Liu Group's multi-billion M&A ceremony. Ice-cold CEO abandoned. My head buzzed and my heart rate instantly spiked to 180. Clicking on the video, which already had over 10 million views, I saw a red-faced man with a tie tied around his forehead stepping onto a priceless mahogany conference table. Holding a pink megaphone, he was screaming wildly at the breathtakingly beautiful, ice-cold woman in the center. Liu Ruyan, you emotionless money-making machine. The tables will turn. Don't look down on a poor youth. One day I'll make you kneel and beg for mercy. You'll have to answer to me, the man in the video shouted with epic drama, leaving the surrounding business tycoons in haute couture suites jaw-dropped as if aliens had invaded. And the woman being pointed at was the city's infamous ice queen, the helmswoman of the Liu Group, Liu Ruyan. I zoomed in with trembling fingers looking at that familiar face, the plaid shirt, and the signature pimple on the tip of his nose. My eyes rolled back. I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself alive. It's over. The idiot making a fool of himself at the multi-billion-dollar scene was me. Last night's memories pieced together like shattered glass. I do odd jobs. My buddy Fat Wang paid me $800 to go to a high-end Western restaurant to curse out his materialistic ex-girlfriend, Liu Ruyan. To build up courage, I chugged 3 bottles of Wusu beer, got the floors mixed up, and stumbled right into the Liu Group's top-secret signing ceremony. Drunken nonsense is one thing, but how the hell did I escalate it to a multi-billion-dollar event? This isn't just social death. I am about to literally die. I collapsed on the bed, feeling my soul drift out the window into outer space. Just then, a loud bang echoed as my flimsy rental door was kicked open. My roommate Fat Wang charged in like a human cannonball, filled with pure panic and excitement. Bro, you're a legend! You're the god of corporate slaves now! Fat Wang grabbed my shoulders, shaking me violently. Do you know you did something even more insane after cursing out Liu Ruyan? Whoa, what else did I do? My teeth chattered, my stomach churning. You probably felt cursing wasn't enough. So you rushed over and grabbed the $80 million purebred Tibetan Mastiff next to her, kissed it dead on the mouth, and shouted right into the media cameras. Liu Ruyan, you're worse than a dog. I'd rather kiss this dog than you. You can't escape me. Wang described it vividly, spitting everywhere. I blacked out, nearly passing away right there. Forcibly kissing a Tibetan Mastiff and provoking the most powerful woman in the city? My life is officially over. Wang, stop! I waved weakly. Did you transfer that $800 fee? I need to buy accident insurance. Make the beneficiary my mom. Hearing this, Wang's expression turned bizarre. He gave me a pitiful look, handed me his phone with a screenshot, and said, Bro, I transferred the money, but you might not live to spend it. Look at this. I squinted. It wasn't a bank transfer. It was an official legal notice from the Liu Group's legal department. It clearly stated that due to my violent intrusion last night, the mahogany table was broken. And the startled mastiff smashed a Ming Dynasty porcelain vase. They were demanding damages totaling 8 million RMB. I snatched my phone to check my bank balance. Ones, tens, hundreds, no thousands, just single digits. Balance, 8.5 RMB, not even enough to buy a bottle of poison. I could almost see that 8.5 RMB on the screen mocking me with 3 words. Go drop dead. 8 million RMB, even if I sold my kidneys by the pound, I couldn't even cover the pocket change. Run. I have to run right now. I launched myself out of bed, adrenaline pumping instantly. I grabbed a burlap sack from under the bed and began frantically stuffing things inside. Instant noodles, underwear, unwashed socks. If I could carry it, it went in. Bro, calm down. We live in a rule of law society. Where can you possibly run? Fat Wang stomped his feet anxiously on the side. Northern Myanmar, Africa, the Antarctic to steal fish from penguins, anywhere but here to die, I yelled back, stuffing the last half bottle of Lao Gan Ma chili sauce into the bag. As long as I run fast enough, Liu Ruyan's legal department can't catch me. Heaving the sack onto my back, I took a deep breath, ready to become a fugitive. I threw the rental door open, poised to bolt like an arrow shot from a bow. However, the moment the door swung open, I froze completely. The narrow, dilapidated hallway was packed with men in matching black suits. They wore sunglasses, their chests practically bursting out of their shirts, each with a walkie-talkie earpiece hooked around their ear. If I didn't know better, I'd think they were filming a Matrix sequel. Swallowing hard, I quietly pulled my left foot back inside, forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. Hey, big brothers, wrong door? We don't have any recyclables here. The scarred, burly man leading them took off his sunglasses expressionlessly and stared at me like I was a pig scheduled for slaughter. Just when I thought he was going to pull out a machete to mince me, the plot twisted again. The scarred man suddenly bowed 90 degrees, his booming voice shaking dust off the ceiling. Greetings, Mr. Shu! Immediately after, all the suited men in the hallway bowed in perfect unison, their voices echoing, Greetings, Mr. Shu, please come with us. I was dumbfounded. What kind of situation was this? Are wealthy debt collectors this polite nowadays, bowing before a beatdown? Before I could process what was happening, the scarred leader waved his hand, and 2 human towers flanked me. They grabbed my arms and lifted me right off the ground like a hog ready for roasting. Ah, my Lao Gan Ma! Both I and my sack were shoved into a stretched Rolls-Royce downstairs. The acceleration pinned me back as the car sped away. Half an hour later, I was dragged into the penthouse CEO office of the Liu Group. The AC was blasting, making me shiver uncontrollably. On a large leather sofa, Liu Ruyan sat with her legs crossed, her slender fingers casually stroking the purebred Tibetan Mastiff next to her. That dog was the victim I had forcibly kissed last night. Little sweetheart. The moment it saw me, it tucked its tail and whined, shrinking behind Liu Ruyan. Whimper. 2 bright red booklets and a stamped sheet of paper were tossed onto the mahogany desk, sliding right to me. Take a look. Her voice was even colder than the air conditioning. I leaned in to look and nearly pissed myself on the spot. The paper detailed a dense, itemized list of damages, totaling exactly 8 million RMB. Meanwhile, those 2 red booklets were explicitly marriage certificates. I flipped them open to find an officially stamped photo of me and Liu Ruyan together. This is a forgery. When did I ever register a marriage with you? I shrieked. Liu Ruyan didn't even blink. She took an elegant sip of her coffee. You left your complete ID information with that gig agency. Is it really that hard to pull a few strings and get a certificate issued overnight? No, wait, big sister. What are you even trying to gain here? I had a total meltdown. Liu Ruyan set down her coffee cup and stared at me coldly. That multi-billion M&A deal last night was a trap set for me by the old foxes on the board. Once the contract was signed, the Liu Group's cash flow would be completely drained. Your buddy hired you, you walked into the wrong room, and your drunken outburst happened to trigger the contract's sudden negative publicity clause. I used the chaos to legally terminate the contract. I froze. It took my brain a solid few seconds to process this. So, not only did I not ruin your business, I actually saved your life? And yet you're still making me pay 8 million? Business is business. Liu Ruyan pointed to the marriage certificate. The board won't back down easily. They are looking for evidence everywhere that I hired someone to crash the meeting. Only by solidifying the fact that you are my secret mentally unstable husband can last night's farce be framed as a domestic dispute to shut them up for good. Wow, using me as a tool? I refuse. I am a proud man of dignity. I will never sell my body. I stiffened my neck, ready to choose death over dishonor. Bang! The double mahogany doors of the CEO's office were suddenly kicked open. A middle-aged fat man with a balding ring of hair and a face full of fierce scars swaggered in with several bodyguards. Impressive move, CEO Liu. The fat man clapped with a fake, sneering smile. Faking a certificate with a random street thug just to fool the board? Today I, Mr. Zhao, am going to see for myself. Just how deeply in love are you two anyway? Director Zhao waved his hand and his bodyguards fanned out, subtly blocking the office door. He stared daggers at me, his eyes full of venom as he smiled sneeringly. Perjury carries a prison sentence, you know. Tell the truth now. And Uncle Zhao will guarantee your safety. I swallowed hard. This old bastard was clearly here to start trouble. If I showed any weakness, not only would Liu Ruyan be finished, but that 8 million RMB debt would land squarely on my head. My adrenaline spiked instantly. I felt like my head was going to explode. Time to go all in. I grabbed a 3-pound pure crystal ashtray off the desk, swung my arm wide, and smashed it right in front of Director Zhao's leather shoes. Crash. Crystal shards showered his pant legs. Shaken, Director Zhao stumbled back 3 steps. Taking advantage of his shock, I stepped next to Liu Ruyan and wrapped my arm tightly around her slender waist. Her body went completely rigid. As she started to struggle, I gave her waist a firm squeeze and hissed in a low voice, "Don't move if you want to get through this!" Then I whipped my head around, glaring at Director Zhao with bloodshot eyes, and bellowed at the top of my lungs, "You old bastard, you think you can touch my wife's money? Bringing these absolute losers to spy on her? Look at her again, and I'll gouge your eyeballs out to chase my drinks." While screaming, I kicked over a nearby chair, pointed at the Tibetan Mastiff, and roared, "Xiao Tian, tear this old bastard apart." Perhaps remembering the terror of my dominance from last night, the Mastiff actually cooperated and started barking savagely. Completely terrified by my unhinged mad dog aura, Director Zhao went pale. His finger shook uncontrollably as he pointed at me. "Madman! Liu Ruyan, you really married a psycho! Just you wait!" With that, he and his bodyguards practically scrambled and rolled out of the office. The moment the door slammed shut, I let go of her waist and took 2 steps back. Liu Ruyan stood up, brushing the non-existent dust off her blazer. She looked me over, and for the first time ever, the corner of her mouth twitched into a smirk. She slid another document out of her drawer. Quick reflexes, nice acting. Pushing a fountain pen toward me, she said, "Sign this agreement. Play my unhinged trophy husband. Term is 1 month. Your 8 million RMB debt will be wiped clean. When it's done, I'll give you another million in cash." Staring at the words 1 million on the document, my eyes practically turned green. 1 month, 1 million, and my debt is cleared? Why wouldn't I do this? I snatched the pen and signed Shu Qing in a flamboyant flourish. Then I slammed my thumb down onto the red ink pad. Deal! Boss, from this day on, I am your most loyal mad dog. The words had barely left my mouth when a loud bang echoed. The office door that had just been closed was thrown open again. A beautiful secretary in a pencil skirt came stumbling in, having lost one of her high heels along the way. Pale and gasping for air, her voice trembled wildly. CEO Liu, this is bad." Liu Ruyan frowned. "What's the panic?" "Your arranged marriage partner, young Master Lin of the Jin Quan." The secretary pointed out the window in sheer terror. "He brought 100 supercars and surrounded our headquarters. He said he's going to skin Mr. Shu alive." The pen in my hand dropped onto the desk with a clatter. My ink-stained thumb froze mid-air. Skin me alive? My scalp went completely numb. I turned to Liu Ruyan. "Boss, does this count as a workplace injury?" Without even looking up, she pressed the intercom button. "Have styling bring up a custom haute couture suit. You have 1 minute." Less than 5 minutes later, I was treated like a puppet. Several stylists stripped off my smelly plaid shirt and forced me into a sharp, tailored, pure black custom suit. They blasted my hair with hairspray, slicking it back into a flawless, glossy undercut. "Let's go. Time to deal with him." Liu Ruyan grabbed Xiao Tian's leash and marched out in her high heels. I bit the bullet and followed. The elevator descended straight to the lobby. The moment we stepped past the revolving doors, a deafening roar of engines nearly blew my mind. Good grief. The plaza in front of the Liu Group building was packed tight with an array of supercars, red, yellow, green. 100 supercars formed a massive arc, their headlights blinding me in a collective beam. Right in the center of the arc stood a young man in a flashy white suit. He was heavily styled, clutching a massive bouquet of 99 black roses, looking at me like I was absolute garbage. So this was the elite heir, young Master Lin. "Ruyan, you rejected my proposal for a low-life loser like him." He shoved the roses into a bodyguard's arms and strutted over arrogantly. Camera flashes went off like crazy. Reporters and media outlets had already swarmed the perimeter, pointing their lenses right at us. Liu Ruyan's face remained cold, her voice flat and monotone. "Lin Zixuan, I am married. Respect yourself." "Married?" Master Lin laughed as if it were a massive joke. He lunged right in front of me, his suffocating cologne hitting me dead in the face. "Him? A penniless, low-class nobody?" He whipped out a checkbook, scribbled furiously, tore a page off, and slapped it right in my face. The light slip of paper slid down the bridge of my nose and drifted to the ground. 5 million. Lin raised his chin so high it pointed toward the sky. "Take the money and disappear from Ruyan's sight immediately. Otherwise, I'll ensure you won't even have the right to collect trash in this city. You'll be totally blacklisted. Got it?" The surrounding reporters gasped, their shutters clicking even faster. I looked down at the 5 million check by my feet. Dead silence fell over the crowd. Everyone expected me to either pick up the money in humiliation or lash out in a rage. Instead, I grinned, bent down, and picked up the check. "At least you know your place," Lin sneered triumphantly. Before he could finish his sentence, I turned around, walked over to the Tibetan Mastiff, and gestured. "Xiaotian, come here." Still intimidated by my unhinged behavior from the night before, the dog actually trotted over with its tail tucked. I took the 5 million RMB check and used it to wipe the slobber right off Xiaotian's drooling mouth a couple of times. Then, with an expression of pure disgust, I crumpled the spit-covered check into a ball and casually tossed it into a nearby trash can. Next, I threw a flying kick right into the bouquet of black roses held by Lin's bodyguard. Scatter! The 99 black roses exploded across the floor. I planted my custom leather shoes on the petals, grinding them into the dirt. 5 million? Who are you trying to buy off, a beggar? I pointed right at Lin's nose, my spit flying everywhere. I kissed this dog last night, and even he cost 80 million. You second-rate side character aren't even worth as much as a dog. And you have the audacity to flex with a mere 5 million? Is your family using Vietnamese dong or what? So damn stingy. The crowd erupted the moment those words left my mouth. The reporters collectively gasped. "You are looking for death!" Young Master Lin's arrogant face instantly flushed a deep purplish red. Shaking with pure rage, he roared, "Beat him! Beat him to death! I'll take full responsibility if anything happens." The burly bodyguards behind him instantly pounced forward like rabid dogs. Liu Ruyan frowned slightly, about to call the building security, but I reached out to stop her. "Boss, leave it to me." I ripped off the burlap sack I'd been carrying, unzipped it, and reached deep inside. That grandson Fat Wang hadn't just packed Lao Gan Ma last night to help me crash the gig. He'd tucked in something incredibly useful. I pulled out a massive pink megaphone, cranked the volume to the absolute maximum, slammed the siren button, and aimed it right at the leading bodyguards. Wow, wow! A max decibel air raid siren blasted through the air. The piercing sound waves were enough to penetrate a man's soul, but I wasn't done yet. Startled by the sudden racket, Xiaotian instinctively opened his massive jaws and let out a deafening, earth-shattering roar at the bodyguards. Bark! Bark! The pink megaphone's siren, combined with the purebred Tibetan Mastiff's roar, created a devastating area of effect sonic assault. The foremost bodyguards were immediately dazed, clutching their ears and dropping to their knees in sheer agony, their faces completely distorted. Holding the megaphone high like a god of war, I pressed forward. "Come on, let's hurt each other! A man with nothing to lose fears nothing!" The bodyguards, who usually threw their weight around, were completely broken by my utter lack of street brawler ethics. They kept backing away, too terrified to advance. I took a brief moment to glance back at Liu Ruyan. The notoriously cold, icy female CEO was watching the absurd spectacle of me driving back a 100-man security detail with a pink megaphone. On her otherwise flawlessly stoic face, the corner of her lips softened into a rare, faint smile. "Lin Zixuan, do you wish to humiliate yourself further?" Liu Ruyan Mask returned, her voice dropping back to sub-zero temperatures. Young Master Lin stood frozen, his face shifting between shades of blue and white. The surrounding media had trained every single lens on him, with some even live streaming. Fine, very well. Lin gnashed his teeth, pointing viciously at us. "Liu Ruyan, you'd rather take a piece of street trash over me? Tomorrow is the Liu Group shareholders meeting. Let's see how you cover your funding deficit. After tomorrow, I'll bankrupt the Liu Group completely and make you beg me on your knees." Having delivered his threats, he spun around and dove into his lead Ferrari. He slammed the gas, the engine letting out an angry roar as the entire convoy fled the scene. The 100 supercars vanished just as fast as they had arrived, leaving behind nothing but exhaust fumes and a sea of crushed black roses. With the show over, the building security quickly cleared out the remaining reporters. I turned off the megaphone, letting out a massive sigh of relief as I wiped the cold sweat from my brow. This 8 million debt is proving to be absolute hell to clear. Turning back to Liu Ruyan, I patted my custom suit to claim credit. "Boss, how was that performance? Given my level of dedication, don't you think that 1 million payout deserves a little bonus?" Before I could finish, the phone in my pocket began vibrating like crazy. I pulled out my burner phone, its screen shattered like a spider web. The caller ID read Fat Wang. The moment I picked up, Wang's frantic, terrified screaming exploded through the receiver. "Bro, run! Do not come back to the apartment!" My heart dropped. "What's the matter now?" "Just now, an offshore account suddenly wired 50 million into our shell company's bank account." Wang's voice trembled violently. The major crimes unit has completely surrounded our place. Even SWAT is here. They say you're a suspect in an international money laundering scheme and put out a manhunt. My hand shook violently and the pink megaphone slipped, clattering to the floor. 50 million? Money laundering? My brain felt like a grenade had just detonated inside it, leaving absolutely nothing behind. As Fat Wang's panicked yelling continued over the line, Liu Ruyan grabbed my tie and forcefully yanked me back to reality. This is Lin Zixuan's countermove. She stared dead into my eyes, her words fast and razor-sharp. Framing you with 50 million to trap you, then tracking it back to drag the Liu group through the mud. The main entrance is compromised. She spun around instantly, her heels clicking a rapid rhythm against the marble floor. To the rooftop helipad! I quickly grabbed my burlap sack and yanked Xiaotian's leash. The dog seemed to sense the danger too, bolting forward with its tail tucked. The moment we threw open the rooftop door, howling wind and the roar of rotors hit us. A pitch-black helicopter was already idling on the pad. Liu Ruyan leaped in first. I shoved Xiaotian inside and threw myself into the back seat right after. The cabin door slammed shut and the chopper took off, melting into the night. Half an hour later, the helicopter touched down in the backyard of a secluded mountain villa, Liu Ruyan's secret safe house. The place was completely empty, as desolately quiet as a high-end morgue. I collapsed onto an Italian handmade leather sofa, my legs shaking like a sewing machine. 50 million. That's enough to get me executed 10 times over. Liu Ruyan kicked off her heels and tossed her blazer over a chair. She glanced at the burlap sack I was clutching for dear life. What's in there? Instant noodles and a half-empty jar of Laogan Ma. I swallowed hard, my voice still shaking. She walked over, snatched the bag, and headed into the open kitchen. I sat there dumbfounded. The billionaire CEO of a megacorporation was actually cooking? 10 minutes later, 2 steaming bowls of beef noodles were set on the counter, stripping away her intimidating daytime armor. Right now, she just looked exhausted. Eat. The M&A deal fell through and the board will strike tomorrow. Lin chose this exact time to finish me. She sat on a bar stool. Starving, I began wolfing down the noodles. Liu Ruyan lifted a noodle with her chopsticks, her voice raspy. In this position, you are surrounded by wolves waiting for you to bleed. There isn't a single soul I can trust with the truth. Wiping the chili oil from my mouth, I grinned. Boss, don't be so pessimistic. Look at me. I have exactly 8.5 RMB left in my pocket, live in a leaky, broken apartment, and have to budget for days just to eat BBQ. Now I'm taking the fall for 50 million. But us corporate slaves survive on sheer grit. As long as we're breathing, we can make a comeback. Liu Ruyan's hand froze mid-bite. She looked up at me, the faintest hint of a smile beginning to grace her lips, when a piercing alarm suddenly blared. In an instant, the lights across the entire villa died, leaving us swallowed by pitch-black darkness. The backup power has been cut. Liu Ruyan's voice turned ice-cold in the dark. Lin Zixuan moved faster than I anticipated. He sent enforcers from the underground market. They want to frame this as a suicide out of fear of prosecution. The living room's floor-to-ceiling windows shattered violently. Several dark shadows rolled inside like phantoms. Moonlight filtered into the room, glinting off the blood-grooved military bayonets in their hands. My scalp tingled. Instinctively, I grabbed Liu Ruyan and pulled her behind me, shoving her into a narrow hallway. There's pepper spray in my bag. Liu Ruyan hissed a quick warning. I reached into her handbag and pulled out the spray, while simultaneously ripping that half-empty jar of Laogan Ma from the bottom of my burlap sack. Boss, cover your nose and mouth! I roared, twisting open the Laogan Ma lid and hurled it violently against the hallway wall. Crash! Glass shattered, spraying chili oil and pepper flakes everywhere. Immediately after, I slammed the pepper spray button and blanketed the air. The mix of toxic chili oil and high-concentration tear gas instantly formed a blinding biochemical barrier in the narrow, enclosed hallway. Caught completely off guard, the lead assassin inhaled a massive lungful of the toxic haze. He let out a blood-curdling shriek and dropped to his knees, clutching his eyes. Kill him! Another shadow, enduring the blinding pain, lunged at me blindly with his blade. I sidestepped, but the bayonet sliced through my left arm. The fabric tore, and a white-hot wave of agony surged through my body as warm blood ran down my arm. You motherfucker! Seeing red, I grabbed a heavy brass decorative vase from the hallway and smashed it down onto the back of the assassin's skull. Thud! The assassin stumbled but whipped his hand around, thrusting the blade toward my throat. At that life-or-death juncture, Xiao Tian, who had been lurking in the shadows, finally unleashed the raw ferocity of a purebred Tibetan mastiff. He leaped into the air with a ferocious roar, his jaws clamping down hard on the assassin's knife wrist. Crack! The assassin shrieked in agony as the bayonet clattered to the floor. I seized the opening, pinning him down with my knee against his throat, and rained 3 heavy punches directly onto his temple until he passed out cold. The hallway was thick with the stinging stench of chili pepper and fresh blood. Gasping for air, I collapsed onto the floor. Liu Ruyan turned on her phone's flashlight and quickly searched the unconscious man. Seconds later, she pulled a black encrypted USB drive from a hidden pocket in his tactical vest. We retreated to the underground bunker. Liu Ruyan plugged the drive into a military-grade laptop running on independent power, swiftly establishing an uplink with an offshore hacker collective. Green code cascaded down the screen as the progress bar crept forward. Beep. Decryption complete. A hidden ledger file opened up on the display. Clutching my bleeding arm, I leaned closer to the monitor, my eyes scanning the dense transaction logs and list of names. My throat tightened. Ruyan, my voice shook. According to this, the mastermind behind your father's car crash 3 years ago wasn't young Master Lin. It was Director Zhao from your own board. As the first light of dawn broke, I threw on a random white shirt from the safe house. My left arm's knife wound was heavily but crudely bandaged. With every movement, blood seeped through, staining half the sleeve crimson. Liu Ruyan and I split up. While she went to confront the vultures on the board, I placed an encrypted call to Fat Wang to put our grand plan into motion. 10 a.m. Outside the penthouse boardroom doors of the Liu Group, I held tightly onto Xiao Tian's leash. Through the heavy mahogany doors, Director Zhao's obnoxious, raspy voice echoed, Liu Ruyan, what else do you have to say for yourself? You harbored an international money launderer, Shu Qing, who is currently wanted worldwide. Young Master Lin has cut off all financial ties with us, and our stock crashed at the opening bell. Zhao's voice pierced through the door, filled with uncontainable ecstasy. Today you are stepping down whether you like it or not. Get ready to sign. I took 2 steps back and drew a deep breath. The throbbing pain in my left arm pushed my nerves to their absolute limit. Ha! I raised my right leg, channeled every ounce of strength, and kicked right through the hinge. The expensive mahogany door shattered with a violent crack, splintering into pieces across the luxury boardroom carpet. Amidst flying wood debris, I strode boldly across the threshold, my blood-stained white shirt snapping in the draft as droplets of blood trailed behind me. Xiaoqian was surprisingly cooperative today. The 80 million RMB purebred Tibetan Mastiff kept pace by my side, low growls echoing from his throat, giving me the terrifying aura of an Avenger crawling straight out of hell. The room fell dead silent. Dozens of suit-and-tie shareholders stared at me, their voices choked off entirely. How did you get in here, you fugitive? Director Zhao leaped from his chair like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, the flesh on his face twitching wildly as he shrieked, Security! Where the hell is security? He's armed! Shoot him down immediately! Over a dozen guards wielding batons rushed in from the hallway. I sneered, ignoring them entirely, and walked straight to the conference table, slamming the decrypted black USB drive into the main terminal. Click. The 100-inch holographic display flashed to life. Simultaneously, in the corners of the room, several delivery drivers and cleaning staff who had been quietly working tore off their disguises. Fat Wang, dressed in a bright yellow food delivery uniform, moved like a flesh-toned lightning bolt, leaping onto a leather sofa. With 3 micro HD cameras strapped to his chest and a selfie stick in hand, he roared at the top of his lungs. Listen up, brothers. Your fellow delivery drivers are here to expose the truth to the entire internet. We are live streaming the Liu Group shareholders meeting in full HD. Keep those gifts coming. The guards froze in total bewilderment, batons suspended midair. On the massive display, a sharp audio track instantly drowned out the room's commotion. Make sure that crash from 3 years ago is completely covered up. Leave no trace of the severed brake lines. That idiot from the Lin family actually thought he was the one pulling the strings in this corporate warfare. He's just a convenient scapegoat. Sooner or later, the Liu Group will belong to Zhao. Director Zhao's distinctive, raspy voice echoed through the boardroom. Immediately after, dense logs of offshore financial transactions began scrolling wildly across the screen. The final destination of every single illicit transfer pointed precisely to Director Zhao's personal offshore account. The explosion of shocked comments across the internet completely crashed Fat Wang's livestream. Bullshit, this is a forgery, turn it off! Smash that computer right now! His face turning an ashen white, Director Zhao lunged toward the control terminal like a madman. Xiao Tian lunged forward instantly, letting out a ferocious roar. Terrified to his very soul, Director Zhao's legs gave out, and he collapsed flat onto the floor. Sitting next to him, Lin Zixuan was staring dead at his phone screen, his expression looking worse than if he had just swallowed a fly. His assistant came scrambling into the boardroom, his voice shaking violently. Young Master Lin! Young Master Lin! The recording implicating us in murder and money laundering is viral all over the internet. Our company stock took an absolute avalanche-style dive within 10 minutes. The entire market has collapsed on us. I ripped the pink megaphone from my hip, slammed my foot onto the armrest of Director Zhao's leather chair, and cranked the volume to max. Bending over, I shoved the megaphone right into Director Zhao's pale, fat face. You ancient piece of garbage. Weren't you going to force a step down? Weren't you going to have me shot dead on the spot? I roared at the top of my lungs, spraying spit all over his face. The tables have turned, old man. Today, I'm not just making you submit. I'm sending you straight to a life behind bars. The massive reversal hit the room like a sledgehammer, leaving all the shareholders trembling in fear. The old-timers who had been shouting alongside Director Zhao moments ago now shrank back into their chairs, not even daring to breathe loudly. Liu Ruyan slowly stood up, adjusting the cuffs of her custom suit jacket as her icy gaze swept across the room. Legal department, submit all evidence to the Economic Crimes Unit immediately. Her voice wasn't loud, but it struck a nerve in everyone present. Furthermore, initiate our emergency protocols. The Lin Corporation stock is crashing, and their capital chain is broken. Notify the M&A division. I am giving them exactly 3 hours to launch a complete hostile takeover of all core assets under Lin Zixuan's name. Lin Zixuan's vision went black, and he collapsed directly onto the conference table. Down below, the sharp wail of police sirens approached from the distance, the flashing red and blue lights already reflecting on the floor-to-ceiling windows. Driven into a desperate corner, Director Zhao suddenly let out the raw shriek of a dying beast. He reached violently into the inner pocket of his suit jacket and pulled out a black makeshift handgun. His eyes bloodshot, his facial muscles contorted into a hideous mess, he aimed the dark barrel dead at Liu Ruyan's forehead. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. The moment the gunshot echoed, time seemed to stretch to a crawl. Before my brain could process anything, my body instinctively lunged out. The knife wound on my left arm tore wide open as I threw myself in front of Liu Ruyan. Bang! The blast erupted in the enclosed boardroom. The bullet tore clean through my left shoulder. The immense impact hit me like a sledgehammer, sending both Liu Ruyan and me crashing onto the expensive Persian carpet. Warm blood surged out, instantly staining my white shirt crimson. Roar! Xiaotian went completely berserk. The 80 million purebred Tibetan Mastiff transformed into a bolt of black lightning, leaping through the air. Opening his massive jaws, he clamped down hard on Director Zhao's gun wrist. Ah! Director Zhao let out a sickening, agonizing scream as the sickening crunch of bone splintering echoed through the room. The makeshift handgun clattered to the floor. Crash! The reinforced glass window was kicked wide open, and fully armed SWAT officers breached the room. Piercing red laser dots instantly painted Director Zhao and Lin Zixuan. Drop your weapons! Hands behind your head! The villains were pinned brutally against the carpet, cold handcuffs snapping onto their wrists. My vision began to blur. Lying in Liu Ruyan's arms, I gasped heavily for air as warm tears began hitting my face drop by drop. I forced my eyelids open with immense effort. This famously unshakable ice-cold female CEO was currently putting desperate pressure on my bleeding shoulder. For the first time ever, she was sobbing uncontrollably, her exquisite makeup completely ruined. Coughing up a bit of bloody froth, I managed a weak grin. President Liu, heh. Does taking a bullet clear that 8 million debt? Enduring the intense agony, I stared dead into her eyes. Make sure to wire me that 1 million paycheck. With those final words, darkness rushed in like a tidal wave, completely swallowing my consciousness. A pungent smell of disinfectant filled my nose. A month later, I opened my eyes inside a VIP room at the Liu Group's top private hospital. The weather was beautiful, sunshine spilling across the sheets through the window. Someone was sitting right by my bedside. Liu Ruyan was dressed in a soft white dress, her long hair tied casually behind her head. Holding a paring knife, she was quietly peeling an apple for me, a long, unbroken strip of red peel hanging midair. The scene felt so surreal that I almost thought Director Zhao's bullet had sent me to the afterlife. You're awake? She looked up, handing the peeled apple over. The usual frost in her voice was entirely gone, replaced by a rare, gentle warmth. Swallowing hard, I took the apple with my uninjured right hand and took a massive bite. What happened to Director Zhao and Lin Zixuan? I asked around a mouthful of apple. They're locked away. Liu Ruyan pulled out a tissue and elegantly wiped her fingers. Concurrent sentences. Life imprisonment. The Liu Group has absorbed the Lin family's core assets. We are now an unshakable empire. I let out a massive sigh of relief. Backing the right horse certainly paid off. Rubbing my hands together, I set the half-eaten apple down. Boss, since everything is settled, isn't it about time we clear our accounts? I held out my right hand with a massive grin. The 8 million debt is wiped, right? You can transfer that 1 million salary whenever. I'm taking a night train back home to farm. Liu Ruyan stopped wiping her hands. She suddenly let out a soft chuckle, a sound that sent a sudden shiver down my spine. Reaching into her Hermes handbag, she pulled out a bright red little booklet and tossed it right onto my chest. I picked it up to look, and my eyes nearly popped clean out of my skull. A marriage certificate. Stamped cleanly inside was an official photo of her and me together. Shuqing, the 8 million debt is indeed cleared. Liu Ruyan leaned forward, her hands bracing against the edge of the bed. Her breathtaking face closed in on mine, radiating pure dominance. But you saved my life. This new debt, you will have to spend the rest of your life paying it off. She extended a slender index finger, tapping it gently against my chest. The contract was fake, but this marriage certificate is entirely real. I sat there completely paralyzed, my brain buzzing like a hornet's nest. Wait, hold on, lady. This is a forced transaction. I don't agree. Agitated, I bolted upright in bed, ready to argue my case, when the door to the VIP room was suddenly thrown wide open. Bro, I came to see you! Fat Wang, carrying a massive fruit basket, squeezed his bear-like frame through the doorway. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, he froze solid. By the bedside, Liu Ruyan was leaning deep over the mattress, her body practically draped over mine. I was clutching a bright red marriage certificate, my hospital gown half open. The posture looked unbelievably intimate. Wang stood petrified at the entrance, his mouth hanging wide enough to swallow a watermelon. Thud. The fruit basket slipped from his grip, crashing onto the floor as a dozen apples spilled out, rolling all the way to the foot of my bed. In the very next second, the bastard's knees buckled entirely, and he fell straight to his knees on the polished tile floor. With a thud, he dropped to his knees on the glossy tiles. Cupping one hand over the other fist, he raised them above his head and answered with a booming voice that echoed down the hallway. Brother Ching, you aren't just the god of working-class stiffs. Right now, you are practically the absolute grandmaster of living off a woman with pride. Please accept your disciple's bow.